So welcome to our talk today, which is titled No Flow, No DevOps. Really appreciate you taking the time to dial in and see us talk about this really important topic. So my name is Phil Gadzinski. I'm the Group Global Enablement Lead for BUPA. This is a bit of a mouthful of a title, but what it actually means is I support capability uplift and modernization of all of our technology teams across essentially 16 countries. We have 4,000 people in technology and nearly 85,000 people serving our customers across the group. And I help them to navigate essentially a VUCA world using agile and flow techniques. With me today, my co-presenter is Adarsh Mehrotra from Infosys. Hello, Adarsh.
Thanks for that, Phil. So, hello all. I'm Adarsh, Industry Principal Consultant with Infosys, and I've worked with BUPA on flow and DevSecOps adoption across multiple market units, cross-pollinating ideas in implementation to add to BUPA's DevOps intellectual capital. Short and sweet about me.
Definitely. Thanks very much, Adarsh. So what we're going to start with today is a little bit around the context of why we adopt flow in BUPA, what the purpose is, but also a bit about how it aligns to strategy. So I'm firstly going to start with a story. And it's not my story. I think the first time I heard this was by Steve Denning, who published in HBR about 10, 12 years ago. And it's the story of Copernicus. And a great example, a great analogy for this audience, obviously being in Europe, Copernicus was a Polish mathematician, essentially. And what he did was he rethought how we thought about astronomy. So he looked at the universe in a different way. So up till his point in time, we had a geocentric view and we thought that the Earth was the center of the universe and all the celestial objects, they revolved around the Earth. Copernicus turned that one around and he put the sun at the center. And at that time, we thought the sun was the center of the universe. And he put forward the proposal that all the celestial objects, they revolved around the sun. So the reason I like to use this story is because that small change led to monumental impact. So he published this story essentially a few years before his death, but actually really started to gain traction well after. It was about 70 years after that. It had such an impact in the world that essentially the Catholic Church ended up banning his book for a couple of centuries. And the reason that we like to use that as a really strong, really metaphor for what we're doing in BUPA and in the world today is that in that old world, the organization, as we thought it, was the sun. And we used to think that the customer revolved around us. But what's changed in the digital world, in the explosion of complexity and globalization and interconnectedness and the ability to compete with any part of the world from wherever you are, is that the customer is now the center of the universe. And organizations, they revolve around the customer. So we're trying to get their attention to come and see our products and services. So the reason that this is really important is the world today is VUCA. Now, VUCA is a term that's actually just starting to get a lot of attention and I guess traction in a lot of our organizations. So it was first espoused in probably the early 1980s by the US Military College as a way of starting to describe the complexity that's evolving post or during the collapse of the Soviet Union. Interesting, very relevant today considering what's happening in Ukraine. So the word VUCA itself breaks into four sort of key topic areas. So volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So what it tries to do is sort of tell us what's happening in the world today is constantly changing and moving. And the way we used to work, the way we used to understand things and respond to change is very different. And we can't rely on it because the past is no longer useful to predict the future in many circumstances. So VUCA also extends as a mechanism when we start to think about organizational transformation. So the fact that organizations are moving very quickly, we need to respond faster, we need more weak signals out, we need really good feedback loops, is used as a mechanism when we start to think about how we might set up to change the organization. So there's a couple of quotes that I still like to use today from Edward Deming, and many of you may know he was one of the founders of essentially Toyota production system in Japan and essentially leading to the lean movement. So he created 14 principles of total quality management. And the three that I still use on a day-to-day basis when I think about VUCA and flow and organizational change, to create that constancy of purpose. So to forever improve products and services. You always need to improve constantly as well, those key processes for planning, for delivery and production forever. And the last one is to put everybody to work on the transformation. So those quotes still mean a lot to us today, and we use them on a day-to-day basis. So why does VUCA matter to BUPA, particularly when we think about strategy? So in 2019, we actually created one of the first global technology strategies in the organization. And it was posited on three particular pillars. One was to make BUPA safer. One was to allow us to change faster. And the third was to really look at having technology at the heart. In 2021, we had a new CEO start. So Iñaki Erenio has come over from Europe and Latin America, so not new to BUPA, but new to running the group. And he refreshed our global business strategy. And it's focused on the elephant 3x6 and the elephant story I won't cover today, but it's really an interesting one. And if you want to learn about it, let me know. But he really simplified our business strategy, focused on 6 specific pillars, 4 strategic and 2 enabling, hence the 6, and 3 specific outcomes, so goals we want to achieve as an organization. So on the back of that, we spent some time refreshing the technology strategy so that we could actually still respond to the VUCA world, but allow us to deliver to the new organizational strategy. So we changed a few things, really started to focus on employing or empowering our